All right, let's go. Number 7. In 2023, astronomer Mark Hone from the University of Hawaii analyzed transiting exoplanet survey satellite data and found a massive planetary structure sitting exactly where the laws of thermodynamics dictate it should have been, completely annihilated. The gas giant Hala orbits the star Baekdu at a remarkably close distance of 0.46 astronomical units. The spectroscopic data revealed a devastating fact. Baekdu is an aging star that had already exhausted its core hydrogen. Astroseismology measurements confirmed that in its recent past, Baekdu underwent a violent expansion phase into a red giant, reaching a massive radius of 1.5 astronomical units. The hard data is undeniable. The expanding star's surface physically engulfed Hala's orbital path. According to all standard models of astrophysics, Hala should have been vaporized, its atmospheric gases stripped away, its core melted down entirely inside the stellar envelope. Scientists universally cite the future expansion of our Sun as the ultimate, unavoidable executioner for planet Earth. Yet Hala calmly survived that exact apocalyptic scenario, proving our textbook definition of planetary death is fatally flawed. The astroseismology data confirmed the star's explosive red giant past. The radial velocity confirmed a planet serenely orbiting directly within the radioactive blast zone. Finding this world is discovering an unmelted, perfectly intact ice cube resting inside the smoldering ash of an industrial blast furnace. Theoreticians propose Hala might be a second-generation planet formed from a new debris disk post-expansion. Another hypothesis argues Baekdu was originally a binary star system, and a stellar merger prematurely halted the expansion just before consuming the planet. No model perfectly reproduces the extreme orbital stability required for Hala to survive the chaotic, violent mass transfer phase without its orbit decaying into the star. The anomaly challenges our core understanding of late-stage stellar evolution, specifically how planetary orbital dynamics react to sudden, massive shifts in the host star's center of mass and atmospheric drag. The universe is sustaining structures that our equations are trying to destroy. The boundary between life and death for a planetary system is not an absolute threshold. If a planet can survive being swallowed by its own sun, then the universe is harboring billions of zombie worlds that we prematurely classified as dead. How many structures survive in the dark against all odds remains a completely open question. In early 2024, astronomical surveys recorded a stellar death that did not explode in a chaotic flash, but instead emitted a mathematically perfect, accelerating anomaly known as a chirp. Supernovae, the violent endpoints of massive stars exhausting their nuclear fuel, are expected to produce a rapid spike in luminosity, followed by a predictable, gradual fading known as a standard light curve. The data captured from the event designated SN2024 AFAV dismantled this expectation. Instead of a disorganized explosive scattering of debris, the optical and electromagnetic data revealed a mechanical, rhythmic pulsing. The frequency of these pulses rapidly increased over time, tracing a highly specific mathematical curve. This signature is typically reserved exclusively for the space-time distortion caused by two massive black holes or neutron stars spiraling inward just before merging. It is entirely inconsistent with the core collapse of a single star. The hard data dictates a cold reality. The collapsing core was somehow violently warping local spacetime, imprinting a gravitational wave frequency directly onto its escaping light. A supernova is supposed to be the ultimate display of cosmic disorder, yet this specific explosion chose to die by broadcasting an accelerating, flawlessly pitched mathematical rhythm, a force capable of liquefying the Earth's crust. But instead of causing random tectonic destruction, it forces the entire planetary surface to vibrate in a mathematically perfect, accelerating frequency until the continents turn to dust. Astrophysicists propose this could be a quark nova, a secondary collapse of a neutron star into an even denser, theoretical quark star occurring just days after the initial detonation. Others suggest a rapid binary merger occurred completely hidden deep inside the opaque envelope of a collapsing giant star. However, no model perfectly reproduces how extreme magnetohydrodynamics, the behavior of electrically conducting fluids in magnetic fields, generated the precise frequency modulation observed in the photons reaching our detectors. The universe is carving flawless geometric patterns into its most violent executions, and physics is struggling to explain why. Our understanding of how stars physically terminate is fundamentally incomplete. We are forced to look at the night sky and ask a deeply unsettling question. Are some of these brilliant flashes not actually dying stars, but the birth cries of entirely unclassified, ultra-dense exotic objects permanently warping the fabric of reality? In 2024, physicists from the Massachusetts Institute of Technology and UC Berkeley analyzed the famous V404 Cygni black hole system and discovered a distant, impossible companion that proves some monsters are born without making a sound. V404 Cygni was long classified as a standard binary system, a stellar mass black hole actively consuming a tightly orbiting companion star. When researchers painstakingly analyzed a decade of kinematic data from the European Space Agency's Gaia satellite, mapping the precise three-dimensional movements of billions of stars, they found a third object. The hard data revealed this outer star is perfectly gravitationally bound to the black hole, orbiting at an immense distance of 3,500 astronomical units. That gap is roughly 100 times the distance separating our Sun from Pluto. According to standard physical models, a black hole of this mass must form from a core collapse supernova. Such a violent kinetic blast would instantly sever the fragile gravitational tether of any stellar object located 3,500 astronomical units away, violently kicking the outer star into interstellar space. The system should have been torn apart. It remained perfectly intact. The undisturbed orbit mathematically proves the black hole formed via direct collapse. The core of the massive progenitor star simply caved in on itself, winking out of existence without ever triggering a supernova explosion. Black holes are synonymous in the human mind with the most violent, explosive, and apocalyptic births imaginable. Yet this specific apex predator was born so quietly that it did not even disturb a delicate stellar orbit trillions of miles away. A thermonuclear detonation occurring deep inside the Earth's mantle. Yet the kinetic containment is so absolute that a fragile glass satellite orbiting the moon does not even register a micro-tremor. Theorists are attempting to model failed supernovae, highly specific collapse scenarios where the neutrino-driven shockwave stalls, causing the entire outer stellar envelope to fall backward into the singularity. No model perfectly reproduces how such a massive gravitational transition occurs without radiating enough kinetic energy to fatally disrupt an ultra-wide orbit. The kinematic data challenges the theoretical mass limit threshold for core collapse supernovae and fundamentally redefines the conservation of angular momentum in massive triple-star systems during the death of a primary star. The mathematics of stellar death are completely broken. If a singularity can form through silent, direct collapse, it means the universe is actively producing massive stars that simply vanish into the dark without a trace. We have spent decades relying on the blinding flash of supernovae to count the dead and map the locations of newly formed singularities. If the universe does not always provide that flash, we are completely blind. We have absolutely no idea how many black holes have formed in perfect silence. The true population of these invisible objects drifting through our own galaxy remains a terrifying open question. Observations of the active galaxy NGC 3783 have captured a supermassive black hole aggressively sterilizing its own host galaxy with a kinetic expulsion that defies standard accretion limits. Located 135 million light-years away, the supermassive black hole at the center of NGC 3783 was expected to be a standard, quiet singularity, steadily consuming ambient gas from its accretion disk. The theoretical models of astrophysical accretion predicted a continuous, inward flow of material, smoothly feeding the event horizon over eons. High-resolution spectroscopic data revealed a catastrophic outward blast instead. The black hole was actively expelling a massive, violent eruption of dense, cold gas and superheated plasma into the surrounding galactic medium. The hard data confirmed this expelled material was moving continuously outward at a staggering velocity of roughly 20% the speed of light. This is not a thin, tightly focused relativistic jet firing safely out of the galactic plane into empty intergalactic space. This is a wide, spherical, shotgun-like blast of kinetic energy slamming directly into the galaxy's own star-forming dust clouds. The shockwave is physically shredding these massive stellar nurseries, actively shutting down the galaxy's fundamental ability to create new stars. Black holes are mathematically defined entirely by their inescapable gravity, universally understood as the ultimate cosmic sinks that pull all matter inward. Yet, the data from NGC 3783 proves this specific singularity is acting as a brutal cosmic repellent, violently pushing matter away with such brute force that it alters the evolutionary trajectory of billions of surrounding stars. A hurricane of superheated, irradiated gas, moving with such incomprehensible velocity that it could traverse the entire distance from the Earth to the Moon in approximately 5 seconds, completely liquefying the crust of any terrestrial planet trapped in its path. Astrophysicists intensely debate the exact trigger mechanism for this extreme manifestation of active galactic nucleus feedback, the physical process by which supermassive black holes regulate the maximum size and star formation rates of their host galaxies. Some propose the eruption is caused by magnetic field lines near the event horizon, catastrophically snapping and violently reconnecting. Others argue it is pure radiation pressure overloading the Eddington limit, the mathematical boundary where the outward push of a black hole's radiation perfectly balances the inward pull of its gravity. But no model fully accounts for the thermal contradictions present in the data. They struggle to explain how the fragile pockets of cold gas survive being mechanically accelerated to zero. 2. C. Without completely ionizing into pure plasma, due to extreme friction. The universe is weaponizing cold gas, and our physics cannot explain how the ammunition survives the launch. The growth of a galaxy is not a peaceful accumulation of matter. It is a violent, ongoing war against the supermassive monster residing at its center. If a black hole can suddenly clear its immediate universe at a fifth of the speed of light, it leaves us with a chilling, open question. We have absolutely no physical laws that dictate when these apex predators will stop eating and start destroying. When the James Webb Space Telescope looked 12.6 billion years into the past, it uncovered a population of structures nicknamed little red dots that simply did not have enough time to exist. Astronomers utilized the observatory to peer directly into the cosmic dawn, observing the universe when it was barely a billion years old. The standard cosmological expectation was to find diffuse, chaotic clouds of primordial gas slowly beginning to coalesce into the very first fragile proto-galaxies. We expected to see the slow, agonizing birth of light, where hydrogen atoms reluctantly gathered over eons. The actual infrared data broke the timeline of the universe. They found a widespread population of galaxies that are incredibly tiny, measuring only about 2% the size of the Milky Way. Yet, they are hyper-dense, already packed with mature stellar populations that have burned for millions of years. More shockingly, the spectroscopic data revealed each one contains a supermassive black hole weighing between 100,000 and 10 million solar masses. Because they display a contradictory, seemingly impossible mix of extreme density, mature stars, and massive black holes without the expected high-energy X-ray emissions of standard quasars, astronomers frustratedly dubbed them platypus galaxies. Cosmologists confidently mapped out a 13.8 billion-year evolutionary timeline, requiring immense patience for galaxies to mature. The universe responded by showing us galaxies that managed to fully grow up, build supermassive central singularities, and reach extreme density while the universe itself was still practically an infant. Models of the early universe predicted sprawling, low-density gas clouds, desperately trying to ignite their first stars. The infrared data revealed highly compact, brutally dense structures harboring massive black holes that had already finished growing. To replicate this level of spatial compression, take the entire biological population of planet Earth and force them into a single, standard-sized telephone booth. You must achieve this perfect, hyper-dense arrangement without crushing a single body, and you must execute the entire evolutionary process while the universe itself is only a few days old. The theoretical crisis is severe. Some astrophysicists suggest super-Eddington accretion, a temporary mechanism where black holes inexplicably gorge on surrounding matter much faster than standard physics should permit. Others propose the direct collapse scenario, theorizing that massive primordial clouds simply bypass star formation entirely, caving in on themselves to create instant singularities. However, no model fully accounts for the extreme stellar density surrounding these black holes without the presence of massive X-ray signatures that usually accompany such violent, rapid growth. The existence of these structures completely shatters the established law of coevolution. This foundational astronomical rule states that galaxies and their central black holes must grow slowly and proportionally together over billions of years. The dark ages of the universe were not dark, and they were not slow. They were a hyper-efficient, violent factory floor operating under physical rules we do not possess. The timeline of reality has been compressed into a fraction of what our equations require. If the universe possessed the mechanisms to build supermassive, fully mature structures almost instantly after the Big Bang, ignoring every evolutionary speed limit we have calculated, it leaves us with a terrifying open question. What other impossible, fully formed architectures did it build in the dark that we simply have not found yet? On the 27th of May, 2021, an invisible ghost tore through the atmosphere above the Utah desert, carrying so much kinetic energy that researchers at the Telescope Array project assumed their instruments were hallucinating. The Telescope Array, a massive 700 square kilometer grid of surface scintillators designed to catch the secondary shower of cosmic impacts, captured an ultra-high-energy cosmic ray slamming into the Earth. The hard data returning from the sensors was nearly incomprehensible. The particle struck our atmosphere with a measured energy of 244 exa-electron volts. This makes it the second most powerful cosmic ray ever recorded in human history. The true shock materialized when astrophysicists carefully calculated its trajectory backward to find the physical source of the shot. Instead of pointing to a massive, violent quasar or a colliding galaxy capable of acting as a macroscopic accelerator, the trajectory pointed directly to the local void, a desolate, completely empty expanse of space bordering the Milky Way that lacks any galaxies or known massive structures. Furthermore, the particle blatantly violates the Greisen-Zatsepin-Kuzmin limit, a strict, mathematically proven boundary in particle physics. This limit states that protons cannot travel through vast intergalactic distances at such extreme energies, because they will inevitably collide with the ubiquitous low-energy photons of the cosmic microwave background, bleeding off their momentum until they drop below the safety threshold. Humanity has spent decades and billions of dollars constructing the Large Hadron Collider, a 2.7-kilometer underground magnetic ring, to push localized particles to a few meager tera-electron volts. Meanwhile, the universe casually hurled a single particle tens of millions of times more powerful directly at us, originating from a region of space that is mathematically supposed to be dead. The trajectory mapping promised to reveal a glorious, supermassive celestial engine responsible for the shot. The map instead pointed to an absolute, terrifyingly empty black void. Nothing was there. A single subatomic particle, a speck billions of times smaller than a single grain of sand, struck the atmosphere with the exact physical, kinetic impact of a solid brick dropped from your waist directly onto your toe. Physicists are facing a profound observational wall. Hypotheses range from the decay of super-heavy dark matter relics, theoretical mass concentrations left over from the very first seconds of the Big Bang, to immense, entirely unknown intergalactic magnetic deflections, severely bending the particle's path and masking its true origin point. Some theorists even propose topological defects in the fabric of spacetime, bizarre, one-dimensional fault lines known as cosmic strings, violently snapping and releasing pure localized energy. No model perfectly reproduces how a subatomic particle achieves macroscopic kinetic energy, survives the strict thermodynamic friction of the GZK cutoff, and seemingly materializes out of absolute nothingness. The anomaly fundamentally shatters our standard models of ultra-high energy cosmic ray acceleration and the distribution of intergalactic magnetic fields. The physical laws governing particle physics are being rewritten by phantoms, and our equations are powerless to stop them. The existence of the Amaterasu particle proves there is a natural, invisible accelerator operating out there on a scale that our current grasp of relativity and thermodynamics simply cannot describe. We have always assumed that the largest bursts of energy in the universe must come from the largest, brightest visible structures. The data confirms this assumption is fatally wrong. The void is not completely empty. The ultimate open question remains, and it is profoundly unsettling. What colossal, invisible mechanism is hiding in the dark, silently firing subatomic bullets at the Earth? In late 2024, data processed from the LOFAR radio telescope network revealed a singular structure so immensely vast that it forces humanity to redefine the maximum scale of physics itself. Astronomers were meticulously mapping the deep cosmos using the low-frequency array, a massive pan-European network of radio antennas designed to detect the faintest, lowest-energy electromagnetic echoes of the universe. They were searching the void for the fading signatures of ancient cosmic events. The standard, mathematically sound expectation for a supermassive black hole at the center of an active galaxy is that it might fire relativistic jets of plasma, extending perhaps a few 100,000 light-years into space. That distance is slightly larger than the host galaxy itself, a localized phenomenon acting as an internal regulatory mechanism for its immediate stellar neighborhood. The actual hard data provided by LOFAR completely broke the scale of the observable universe. They discovered porphyrion. Porphyrion is a continuous, bidirectional jet of superheated plasma erupting from a single supermassive black hole, but it stretches an incomprehensible 23 million light-years straight across the cosmic web. This makes it the largest structure ever discovered that was generated by a single celestial object. To put the hard data into perspective, our entire Milky Way galaxy, holding hundreds of billions of stars, spans roughly 100,000 light-years. If you were to line up 140 Milky Way galaxies edge to edge, bridging the absolute darkness of intergalactic space, that massive chain of stellar civilization would only just equal the length of the energy beam. This single black hole is continuously spraying into the void. We classify black holes mathematically as singularities, infinitely small, dimensionless points in space where volume drops to zero and density reaches infinity. Yet, this infinitely small, invisible point managed to create and sustain the single largest continuous physical structure ever recorded in the history of the universe. A single grain of sand resting on a beach in California, firing a perfectly straight, continuous laser beam that successfully stretches across the entire Pacific Ocean, striking the coast of Japan without ever losing its shape, scattering its energy, or breaking its beam. Astrophysicists previously believed black hole jets were highly localized phenomena that only dictated the evolution of their host galaxy. The LOFAR data revealed a kinetic jet piercing so deeply into the intergalactic medium that it actively alters the temperature and magnetic alignment of the cosmic web itself, the vast filaments of dark matter and gas connecting the universe. The sheer physical mechanics required to keep a plasma jet perfectly stable over 23 million light-years are baffling. In standard fluid dynamics, any beam of high-energy plasma, moving through an ambient medium, will eventually succumb to kinetic instabilities. It should naturally fray, billow, and disperse, much like smoke rising and scattering from a chimney. To avoid this, some scientists suggest the central singularity must have been feeding continuously, swallowing immense quantities of matter without a single, momentary interruption for billions of years to maintain the necessary outward hydrostatic pressure. Others propose an entirely undetected, vast framework of primordial, intergalactic magnetic fields, perfectly confining the beam as it travels through the expanding void. However, no model fully accounts for the extreme thermodynamic stability and the unbroken accretion timeline required to sustain such an impossible macrostructure against the vacuum of space. The existence of porphyrion threatens the absolute mathematical limits of magnetohydrodynamics and active galactic nucleus energy mechanics on a cosmological scale. We built models to contain these monsters, and the universe just shattered the cage. Black holes are not merely localized cosmic drains or isolated galactic engines. They are not safely contained within their host galaxies. Porphyrion proves that a single black hole possesses the brute physical force to reach across the void and forcefully dictate the fundamental physical conditions of entirely different, independent galaxies millions of light-years away. We are staring at an energy transfer mechanism so large that it spans the structural filaments of the universe itself. The ultimate open question we are left with is chilling. If one mathematically invisible point can build a continuous physical structure 140 galaxies long, who is actually architecting the shape of reality, the gentle, predictable pull of gravity, or the violently feeding monsters hiding in the dark? If you want to see more videos like this, click the video on screen now and make sure to subscribe.